What's going on, Anime Society, and welcome to another episode of the Anime Society podcast. I am your host, Jonah, as always, and with me today, like usual, is my boy, Hunter. So how's life going over in your neck of the woods, brother?
Hey, man, can't complain. Just happy to be able to do this for another day.
Yes, sir. So first, we want to kick off the video like usual and say thank you to all of the members of the Anime Society, all of you who have been liking our videos, supporting the content that we deliver, subscribing to the channel, chatting with us on Instagram. We really appreciate your feedback and all the love that you guys have been sending us. Truly, we're overwhelmed. We just eclipsed 100 subscribers. I know we posted it on the Instagram, but we just eclipsed 100 subscribers this last week. I mean, that's amazing. We definitely didn't foresee the amount of growth that we've seen to this point. At least we didn't expect it to happen as quick. Thank you guys so much. That's all thanks to you. We're really excited for today's topic. So without further ado, I guess let's get into it. Hunter, you want to introduce it for us?
Yeah, and today's topic is kind of a new one. We haven't really done this kind of topic before, so it's not going to be a continuation of a series. It is absolutely brand new, and it will be a series going forward. It is going to be the most underrated anime. It is going to be very subjective. This is what we think are the most underrated anime, and are shows that if you haven't seen it, that you really need to go out and give a shot. So Jonah, why don't you go ahead and introduce the first anime?
All right, and before I do that, actually, just as a general, I guess, I don't know, this is the way that I looked at it when we were talking about this topic in the pre-show. It seems to me like an anime can be underrated for one of two reasons. One reason could be that it's phenomenal and just no one watches it, and that's what makes it underrated. Or two, it could actually be really good, but gets a lot of unfair hate and critique within the anime community. So we're going to have a little bit of both here on our episode today. And so the first one that we wanted to talk about is the anime called Magi. There are 2 seasons of Magi, but Magi is absolutely fantastic. This is one of those that I feel like gets a lot of undeserved hate, even though it's actually really, really good. For those of you who haven't seen it, the general plot, it's a fantasy world, clearly set in the past. I mean, there's no modern day technology or anything. And one of the cool things about it is it's very heavily inspired by the book 1001 Arabian Nights. A lot of the stories and characters are based off of the stories in that book. The main character is this boy named Aladdin, and he is a magician. And there are 4 magicians in this world. And currently in the world, there are these things called dungeons that are just kind of spawning all over the place. And so the magician's job is to find what they call king candidates, who they lead to these dungeons, they overcome them, and when they do so, they obtain the power of a jinn. These are basically genies, kind of. Each jinn has its own special abilities, whether it's fire or electricity or ice, fire, magma, whatever. They all have these certain abilities and powers that come along with it, and they have some kind of like relic. It's either like a clothing item or a weapon that they are housed in. The story follows Aladdin, his king candidate, Alibaba, and then I guess the friends and stuff that they pick up along the way. And this story, I mean, I think it's incredible. I think it's an amazing story. I don't know about you, Hunter, but I think strictly from a story standpoint, Magi's phenomenal. The lore is really cool. The power system's amazing. I really loved it when I first watched it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the whole fantasy world that it built for you. You know, it's not quite medieval like some fantasy worlds are, where they're fighting dragons and, you know, they're going through all of these deep, dark cave dungeons with these huge rock castles. No, it's not medieval at all. It takes you almost into a Middle Eastern vibe, and it does give you, just for a lot of people that would probably recognize it, it gives you a lot of Aladdin feels to it. Disney's movie, Aladdin. It's really, I get that feel from it a lot, and I really appreciate the characters that they've introduced into it. We haven't even mentioned probably the coolest character in the show, and it's not even Aladdin or Alibaba. For God's sakes, he has his own. He's so cool. They gave him his own prequel story on Netflix. And for those of you that don't know, who we're talking about the god Sinbad. I mean, this dude is sick. Everybody knows, obviously, the story of Sinbad that has been passed around throughout generations, but Magi's version of Sinbad to me is twice as cool as the Middle Eastern story of Sinbad himself. I think it's also cool how each dungeon has its own djinn, and for those of you, like Jonah said, though, that don't know quite what djinn means, it is genie. A lot of people just call them genies, but they have their own genies, and they have their own special abilities, and I like seeing the artifacts. I think that's a good way of putting into terms what it is that the djinn is connected to. As I like seeing the artifacts that they're connected to. Like sometimes it's a sword, and how you said sometimes it's a necklace or it's a bracelet. It seems to be some sort of weapon, or it's some sort of amulet or some sort of jewelry, and to see that is really cool. I can't say this anymore. I think the power system is really cool. Sure, you're going to have moments where you see Sinbad and think, wow, he's the most OP thing I've ever seen in the world. But if you look at everybody else outside of Sinbad, you're like, oh, okay, it's pretty balanced. There doesn't seem to be one genie power that the magicians gain from taking over these dungeons and acquiring the djinn. There doesn't seem to be one that's broken or OP. It seems really balanced, and it is cool. Sure, it's another show that brings magic into play, but who cares, man? It looks dope.
And the one thing on the power system that I really like is that each djinn, like I said, is connected to lore and history that they've built up as kind of like the background setting to the anime. And then on top of that, you have like, if you're a king candidate and you have conquered and you obtain a djinn, then your close friends, you can basically endow some sort of weapon or clothing item for them and make them a household vessel to your djinn, where they get a portion of your power. So not only is it important to, have a djinn, and that helps you, but you can also spread the wealth, so to speak, and enhance those people around you. So it's not like what makes Sinbad so powerful is not only the fact that he has 7 djinns, which is like unheard of, right? But it's also the fact that he's built an entire kingdom, and he has all of these household vessels that are these different races and species that build his kingdom up to be even more powerful. I love the power system. Magi has an amazing way of going about their power system and combining both cool abilities and history and lore all into one.
And one of the reasons why we definitely put this on our most underrated anime list is because if we just look at rankings, Season 1 is ranked 396 of all anime, and Season 2 is ranked 191. And let me tell you, I believe that is too low for both of them. Season 2 is really good. I think, obviously, Season 2, I can agree with that, is better than Season 1. But they're both, I think, unfairly ranked, and of course, this is our own opinion, but that is why Magi is the first anime we chose on our most underrated anime list. And now we're going to go ahead and move over to our next anime on the most underrated anime list. And this one, all I have to say is this, and a lot of people will probably understand where I'm coming from. It's all because the music is sick. The music makes the whole thing. Okay, the fight scenes are pretty cool. Don't beat me to it. But we're talking about Samurai Champloo. It's 26 episodes, and it is worth the 26 episodes. It's set in an alternate Edo era of Japan. Samurais, they roam the lands. The story follows the 3 characters. Fu, Mugen, he's the coolest. I'm just going to say he's the coolest. And Jin. Mugen and Jin, they're sentenced to be executors for accidentally killing a magistrate's son, and then the two will get into a fight, and that's the first cool real fight scene that you see. And then after that, the story begins then following their adventure. And I'm telling you, the soundtrack is dope. It is heavily inspired by hip-hop, so if you're a big hip-hop fan, you're gonna love the soundtrack. The soundtrack, of course, goes with the dope fighting styles, especially Mugen's fighting style. We've got a little bit of notes in front of us, and I agree with exactly how Jonah represented this. He said it's like break dancing. It's like he's fighting. It's like he's break dancing with swords. It's really cool. And not only that, I don't know about you, Jonah, but the animation is
Oh,
amazing.
yeah.
And why I love the animation so much, of course, I'll let you get into why you think this is so underrated as well. But the reason why I think the animation is so great is because what we seem to notice today in a lot of anime, a lot of them are cookie cutter. They all kind of look the same. The characters all have kind of the same design. This one, whether it's the brush strokes, line strokes, all of it, it is so unique and so cool to see that I loved it. I thought Samurai Champloo was amazing.
And this is one of those ones that I feel like it's still ranked pretty high. I would rank it higher. I mean, it's ranked 99th on my anime list. But and I would put it at least top 50. It's still ranked highly enough where I'm not totally gonna gripe about that. But I don't feel like it has as big of a following as it needs to have. You know what I mean? Like I don't go online and I don't see people talking about Samurai Champloo. Yeah. They're talking about Naruto. They're talking about Fullmetal Alchemist. They're about Hunter x Hunter. And I guess we're guilty of that too. You know, most of the time when we're using examples on the podcast, we use the more common ones. You know. Mm-hmm. But Samurai Champloo is absolutely fantastic. The world it creates is cool. Like you said, the animation style is really unique. You know, like even just from like a color scheme standpoint, it's pretty cool. One of my favorite things about it is the contrast between Mugen and Jin. You know, they're the two samurai. Fu is you know, the girl who brings them together onto one team. She kind of unites the two. So she's the bridge, so to speak. Yeah. Because Mugen and Jin don't get along that well, but they form a really cool contrast because Mugen, like we said, his fighting style is really free. You know, it's like breakdancing. It's kind of wild. You know, you can't tame Mugen. He's kind of all over the place. Whereas Jin is very refined. You know, he's very poised. He's disciplined. And so when you see the two of them fight each other or other people, it's cool to see the contrast in styles. And you see that both are effective, you know, and I think that's one of the cool things about the story is it shows, you know, that they kind of represent two extremes, but even the extremes can work together for a common goal and create something amazing.
And I agree that Samurai Champloo definitely deserved to be on our most underrated anime list. And so now we're moving on to our final anime of this first list. Again, this is going to be a series, so if you haven't seen an anime that you think is underrated on this list yet, just stick around and look for future episodes because I promise you it will probably be on there. The next anime we're going to talk about, take it away, Jonah.
Yeah, so this one is Mob Psycho 100. So between Mob Psycho 100 Season 1 and Season 2, there are only 25 episodes. But it is probably the most entertaining 25 episodes I have seen in anime. I mean, it's relatively short, you know, but the story is fantastic. And first thing that sticks out, the animation, especially in fight scenes, is absolutely breathtaking.
Yes.
I mean, their colors and the thin pencil line, it's just absolutely fantastic. Mob Psycho is, you know, unparalleled when it comes to fight scene animation. And this is one that I feel like those who watch Mob Psycho, I've yet to meet someone or talk to someone that's watched Mob Psycho that hasn't liked it. Everyone loves it. I mean, it's ranked really high. So everyone that gives it a shot absolutely falls in love. But like on my anime list, it's ranked 19th, but it's 131st in popularity. That makes no sense. That's way too big of a discrepancy. This is one that is an amazing anime that just doesn't have the following that corresponds to the quality of the anime.
Yes, Mob Psycho, for those of you that don't really know the underlying premise of it, follows a boy named Shigo Kageyama, and otherwise known as Mob. That's what he goes by, hence the name Mob Psycho 100. But the problem is that he kinda doesn't know how to show any emotion. As a matter of fact, he doesn't even know how to control his own emotions. And that is really what the 100 stands for when we look at the title Mob Psycho 100. Mob is an esper, aka he's a psychic. He can control things with psychic powers. He's really young. He's is he a middle school or a high school student? I couldn't really tell. High school. I think he is in high school. He's a high school student. Let me just lay it out for you. He's a high school student. He's got psychic powers and doesn't know how to control his emotions. I want you to take those 3 things and put them in your brain and kind of do the math and say, yeah, some shit's gonna get real. So you got a kid in high school with all sorts of drama, and he's finally learning how to like girls and trying to figure out how to be cool. He has psychic powers, but is kind of trying to keep it a secret, but at the same time, eventually everybody knows about it. And he doesn't even know how to control his emotions. So it's really cool. The premise of it is really awesome. You don't get to see many shows where they have psychic powers. A lot of them is, you know, superpowers, or they're able to control the elements. But the psychic power part of it is really cool because you can do so much with it. And you really hit the nail on the head with the hammer when you said the art style is great because the thin lines they use in action scenes. I don't know if people are as into anime as we are, but if you ever see a fight scene that's got thin lines, you know it looks so clean. And that's exactly what they do for the fight scenes in Mob Psycho. Animation is beautiful. The story is really cool, watching Mob kind of have to grow and develop and learn how to control his emotions and actually how to show his emotions to begin with. So it's just a great premise. For me, I agree, it should be ranked at least top 20 right now in anime. But the popularity to be as low as it is, it really needs to be a lot higher. And that's exactly why it is on our most underrated anime list for this week.
One last thing on Mob Psycho. I also feel like it's the same creators who did One Punch Man, but like everyone knows One Punch Man. Yeah. You know, I mean, that one has a massive following and crazy popularity. And this is the same creators. I actually prefer Mob Psycho to One Punch Man, at personal preference, but it doesn't have near the following, which is really a shame. Definitely underrated and deserves to have some more clout and notoriety and fandom in the anime community.
And with that, that is going to bring an end to this first episode of a new series we're starting, Most Underrated Anime. Again, I prefaced it a little bit earlier. I'm going to re-say it now. Do not get upset if we did not list an anime that you think is highly underrated. If you want, feel free to get in the comments below and tell us which anime you think is underrated, and we'll see if we can put it, we'll see if we can agree with you and put it in to one of our future videos for this series.
Make sure as well to jump in the comments, write down all of your questions that you have for us, the content creators. Content Creator Q&A 3 will be dropping next week. I'll be conducting that, so fill the comment section up with all of your questions, and I will do my absolute best to address all of them.
And also another big thank you to all of you who helped us get over 100 subscribers. And trust me, we are going to continue to bring you the best content we can. So from Hunter and Jonah and the Anime Society, thank you so much, and we will see you next time.
Peace!